Well, hello friends. It's not only me here today. I don't know if you know this, but you might see my French Bulldog Kip come in and out of the screen today. We're gonna change things up. I haven't done a table video in a while, and I love them. Easter is coming, and I wanna show you what my Easter table could look like, hopefully give you some ideas. The big thing when we're talking about tables is, I'm not talking about everything is gonna be purchased brand new. I am gonna put flowers together today because I love to, and I think it's fun to do it together. But everything else is gonna be things I've either collected or I use every year, and I use them in different ways, and that's what we'll talk about. So hopefully you can think of things you have too. So what I'm starting with is a scalloped table runner. And the only reason is I think when I have a wood table that I like, which I've had this now for what, 5 years? When I have a table that I like to still see the table, but then have a little bit of texture. So anytime you can layer your table together, which this is the first layer, it just adds something nice. And the scallops, they're nice and springy. They had just kind of a nice kind of soft touch, and I like that. So we're gonna start with what you often see if you're seeing this view is my jadeite collection, Fire King jadeite. I collect the restaurant ware specifically. So it's a heavier jadeite glass, and it was used in restaurants, in event centers, and churches, anything like that. So it can be harder to find because it was used hard, but I love it because it's heavy and hefty. What we are gonna use, I'm gonna use you can see it's a separated plate. There's a couple different styles of this. I like them, but I also like the size of them. And then I'm using I've had this for years. I might have used this even in a video before. It's just a nice china, and it has that great kind of marbled bubble effect, which I think is really pretty. And when you layer them, it looks really good together because this is all about spring. This is all about spring colors. And the thing is, it's a time to have fun. So I know we don't have a lot of times that we're as formal as we used to be. Growing up, we reserved maybe the good china and we only used it at certain times of the year. Let's just use the things and enjoy them. So whatever you have, think of maybe what goes together in different ways, what can maybe pop in a different way. And I think that's the really fun part. Now, you're probably gonna say, well, who uses 2 plates? You're right, on a daily basis, we don't often. When it comes to larger meals like you might have at Easter, maybe you're even gonna have a brunch, whatever it is, sometimes it's just almost too much food to put on 1 plate, and it's nice to start with your salad or something. So that is why I am using 2 plates, and I like to do that often when I'm having a meal. Now what I am gonna do, keep it informal, use napkin rings. I take a square, so this napkin is folded into 4 quadrants. You pull it through, instantly you're done. That's the beauty of it, and you can just set it there. So, you can keep things informal. What napkin rings do, I didn't used to be a huge fan of napkin rings, and maybe that's just because I didn't grow up with them. But it was usually because I wasn't used to them. But what's nice is it does the work for you. It makes it look kind of done and complete. And then you're just ready to go. Now notice I am doing colors that somewhat go together. The blues in the napkins are going with the blues in the plates. That green is giving it pop. So now we can talk about, obviously, silverware, glasses, we'll get to that. Let's talk about the table a little bit. So I'm gonna take you over and show you what I want to do, which is flowers, but I'm also gonna show you a few other things we'll put with it. So since I collect jadeite, I have some antique vintage egg cups. Now, traditionally, if these were to be used, you would have, if you're gonna eat 2 eggs, probably some type of soft but hard egg, you would put 1 underneath to keep it hot. Pretend these are real eggs. And 1 on top to eat, open it up. Delicious. We're gonna use these more as just decor, obviously. So since we have a centerpiece coming, we're gonna put these down the table. And these are gonna allow some marble eggs, aren't those pretty, just to set in them and act as decor. Around the holidays, especially if you're gonna have family over, whatever it is, I think candles are always a must. So again, I just started collecting this a couple years ago. It's enamel and it's just candle holders, and I like the ones that have a handle specifically. Do you notice how these have this handle here? I like that they have that nice chippy look, but they also, if they drip, they can catch it. Now, if a candle doesn't fit down in something, because sometimes old things and new things don't match size-wise, you can find candle wax that will hold it, or a little bit of plastic will help just hold that in there tightly so it burns correctly. So you notice how we're layering, we're adding, and we're keeping it simple. We're keeping it maybe things we have on hand, things we love. So I also have some different types of bunnies, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know for sure which one I wanted, and until I have my centerpiece up, I don't know that I will. But I have some old paper mache ones that we could just set in places. You've probably seen these before. And I brought up one of my big cast iron ones. I love this. I like how simple and the patina of it. So it might be this one that we set. For now, this is what we're gonna do. For now, we're gonna set this one here. Look how nice it is on the table. And what we're gonna do before we finish, is we're gonna go over to the island and we're gonna put together some flowers. For the flowers, I wanna show you, not using flower foam, but I do wanna have something, so I have a low vessel, as you can see. It's just a vintage floral, it would have been from a floral shop, you know, back in the 60s and 70s. Container, so it's shallow. Usually floral foam would be best because it would soak in water. Try not to use that because it's really bad for the environment. So I just used chicken wire that I crumpled up into a shape that fits inside. This is nice because it's reusable. And what it does is kind of like a flower frog would. It has areas you can put flowers and it will hold them in place. So what I have here is a mixture of yellows and with a little bit of filler and greens with the hypernicum berries and some others. So you can see it's different sizes of mums. We have some mini roses back in here. We have tulips and they're all in the yellow colors, which I like for this table because as you can see, it's gonna be a pop of color against the greens and the blues. And this is gonna be completely freehand. By the way, I am not a floral designer. I am someone that likes flowers and I like to use them on my table. So what I find is best though is I've been keeping these in water, obviously. And we're gonna start by just cutting some of them, specifically tulips, because I have probably the most of those. I like to leave a few greens on, but you can always diminish some of the green too if you want to. And what you wanna start by thinking is your overall shape. But you see instantly how I put one in and it's being held perfectly. That's what's wonderful about this. And that's why we use this. And it's just so much easier than floral foam too, because it kind of can be molded to whatever shape. Now, if you have a bad leaf, take it out. Now, with things like tulips and really any flower, I am using a packet of that floral food. If you don't have that, I like to put them in groupings, by the way, I should say, of 2 or 3 together at once. If you don't have packets of floral food, that's fine. But what I would do then is put a drop or 2 of bleach in here just to keep, just a drop or 2. It keeps that water clean and keeps the flowers from getting slick. I've gotten done with most of the tulips. I'm keeping a few back. And you're probably gonna say, oh, it doesn't look that great. We're spacing them out evenly. So this is different than when you hold in a hand your arrangement and you just keep adding to it and making a tight arrangement. We're literally making one that's free-forming. So we're creating clusters, and now I'm going in with the next flower. So I'm choosing these mums. And you can see I'm going in. Now, if the leaves are gonna go down into the water, like if you don't see them, it doesn't matter, but if they're going down into the water, that's gonna have more rot or be prone to rot. So I'm taking those out. But what I'm doing is sticking now these clusters in different places and choosing my height, because we can take it out and cut it. And we're gonna have tight clusters of big mums. And then I also have these smaller, tighter mums, which I just think the mixture of these, you know, it's funny with flowers, to me, any one of these alone is kind of just like, okay, it's fine. You wouldn't really want it alone. But when you start mixing and matching and putting them together like this with all the yellows, I think it's so pretty and it kind of creates its own little moment, which is really nice. So I'm gonna keep now putting in all these different mums. See how those yellows are just working together? And at the end, we're gonna take filler to fill in any cracks. Remember, as you're doing this, you're gonna need to turn it every so often. Like I'm trying to do it towards the camera, but turn your items so you can see holes as you're creating them. But I like the irregular kind of depth perception of it, which I think is really fun. But do you notice how all the different kind of colors and textures are starting to work together? Now remember, we're not done yet. I am taking all the leaves off of the roses, by the way. I think they're much prettier when you end up taking all of them off, and they will open up a little bit. Also remember, if you do this too many days ahead of time, the tulips will continue to grow. Tulips keep growing outwards, so you may have to adjust their heights if you do it really far in advance, and they will keep opening up. So keep it cool if you can too, and it will slow down all those things, or do it, you know, the day before and it shouldn't have too much change. But here as I get finished, which I will fill in with a few more probably blooms here and there, but I wanna show you, I'm just really enjoying that, all the filler I have. So I did mention hypernicum berries. So these are gonna be green. And what I like about them is I, again, take those leaves off, and do you see how instantly when you take the leaves off up top, it makes those berries pop. And I think that's really essential. And you want to be able to see that. But little pops of green like this, look at this. It will make all the other flowers kind of pop out too. And I think that's really, oh, that's so pretty. And then we have filler that will more. The reason I got other filler is to use around the base. So oftentimes when I've started some of these, I'll create like a wreath or halo effect of sorts. I didn't want to do that with this one, but what I do want to do is take this, and this is what I'll kind of pinch in around the bottom to start, see how, look at that. Ah, this is so simple sometimes. I think we don't take time to enjoy some of these kind of crafty things at home anymore. You can make flowers. You know, you can go to discount grocery stores even, where I went and got all these, and get all these things for really low cost to create. And it always takes more than you think, because look at the discard of greens we're not going to use. You want the blooms in this case to pop. It's Easter. So I'm going to keep filling in and put it on the table here. Now you're going to have a moment where you think, this isn't looking good. It's the filler, and that's why it's called filler. Makes a huge difference. Now I have two. I have blue plurum and trachelium, and these two are just great because they're kind of all-purpose. And what I like is this blue plurum can really just cascade out, and you can see what I'm doing is just putting it up underneath. Make sure it goes in the water. Always check your water level. But do you see how it just fills in? And kind of all over now, you're noticing that it's filling in. You can always also, if you have holes anywhere, keep a few blooms to me at the end, and then if you need to, wherever you can find a spot, or if you feel like there's somewhere that's like, ooh, this would look good if you could just see a little bit more, throw them in. Make sure they go down into the water. This to me is just, it's easier than you think. And I think the one key here is too, don't only put your greenery underneath in the bottom, put a couple pieces up inside like this. This blue plurum can kind of spill out, just so it feels like it was kind of growing within. So let's take this on over. Is this not pretty? Watch the water, because in low vessels, it can tip easily and go everywhere, and you don't want that. But notice how that chicken wire is keeping it really well intact. Now, I don't want this to be askew like it is, so I want to move these things so I can have it all together. What I may do, I know this guy is big, I really like him, but let's see here. Let's put this down the center for sure, and just kind of make sure, that's pretty. Looks really good. You know, yeah, I get it. We're not gonna do this all the time, and maybe you're looking at this saying, no way. But also, don't ever undercut yourself, and don't discount yourself. You can do things like this. It takes what? Real time in this video, I think it took me 15, 20 minutes. Granted, it might take you a little bit longer. So I'm gonna have this peeking out back here. Now, if you want things more that go on each side of the table, you can, but I think he looks good. Or she, I don't know, as is. So what I am doing, you can notice, is I did put silverware around. Always remember, knives on the right, blade pointing in with a spoon, and then your fork on the left. No, I'm not going all the way and having a salad fork and a dinner fork. It's whatever you want. I am doing two sizes of glasses only. So instead of a tall stemmed wine, which sometimes on a table can feel topsy-turvy, I'm doing a small glass. That's gonna be for wine, usually a white to me at Easter. And then a tall glass for water or tea, whatever you want. So this is how the table really goes together. And what I like is it's a mix and match of things I had other than the flowers. The vessel for them I did. Everything else is things I collect and use. So the jadeite gets used once in a while at special occasions or anytime I want to. Candlesticks or candle holders that I had that could also be crystal or glass ones. Maybe you inherited some, maybe you just happen to have some from a wedding. And then fun things like a bunny. It could also be smaller paper mache bunnies. Little egg cups that go with my jadeite, but then also just showcase something, because here's the thing. Who eats eggs anymore usually out of an egg cup? Now I know I'm gonna get a slew of people that tell me that you do, but if you don't, find other uses for them. These also make great little small vases if you wanna make just little individual flowers to go down the table. So whatever you wanna do, I want you to mix and match, and I want you to feel empowered to go shop your house and find things you have that are gonna work, because that is the point. Now I feel like someone will say, you need to light the candles, let me go get a lighter. So here we go, we're lighting the candles. You guys are invited over. We're all having a beautiful lunch together. I always do a lunch for Easter. Actually, we'll probably be at Grandma's, I'm not sure yet. But I hope you're inspired, I hope you're excited. Try something new, don't feel like it's overwhelming, and don't feel like it has to be perfect. It doesn't, because anything you do is perfect, because it's doing something. So enjoy it, happy Easter, happy spring table, have fun.